prevent that from being the case, huh? All right. Okay. So,
So here we are.
there you are, the Kanskula.
Should we have any kind of order or anything?
No, let's just keep it
had
informal.
order in our life.
No, that's true.
No, let's just keep it informal. And why don't you go ahead and who wants to start talking about how she became involved in the Vasaloppet?
Let's start with D. D would be good.
Okay.
Well, I became Kanskula not by choice, but by chance. Glenn Johnstone talked to me throughout the year preceding it, but nothing was definite until I was told in January that I was going to be the Kanskula. Not too many preparations were made because it was so unformed. It was newly formed. In fact, in 1976, Daisy Samuelson was the Kanskula. Then I don't know, in 1977 maybe there wasn't one. I don't know my facts on that. But in 1978 then I served because I had a Swedish costume. And I know that's why I was chosen. And I know it for a fact because there was no committee, there was nothing. And I had an authentic costume that came from Sweden, and it's now about 100 years old. So that solved two dilemmas right there. And I don't know if you want me to go on to some of the details then, Gary, or do you want me to just...
Yeah, details.
Okay. The race was held just pretty much as it is now. There were 700 contestants, I think my note said. There was nothing formulated at the end of the race except they came down Main Street, and I stood in Hans's Homes Furnishings and waited until somebody said they're here or about to be here. I raced out, and they also said there were going to be two of them coming apace. And I thought, oh no, what do I do with one wreath and two winners? That was uppermost in my mind. So delightfully, somebody must have passed the two of them because it was Lars Venus and he was all alone. And by the way, at that time you did not wait to crown them later or put the wreath on, but you had to catch them midair. So that was a lasso type thing. And I managed it. And then there was nothing. Then there were no medals or anything. We went up to the school for the ceremonies later.
Okay. Anybody?
Well, maybe it's obvious by being the 1980 Kanskula that I should be next. And we had a ski club at that time. And I was cross-country skiing, and we came in to have our hot chocolate. And Einar Hovland had been talking to Glenn, and he said, we decided that we want you for Kanskula next year. And that was very much of a surprise, and I said, well, I guess I have to sleep on it because I don't know what the duties are or anything. And my kid said, well, do it, Mom, it'd be fun. And so that was how we did a lot of, in fact, the Kanskula at that point, like Dee and I, we just did the whole 9 yards. And it's so wonderful now to have all this group of girls that share duties, and because we did everything from bibs to, of course the wreath at the end, and everybody's still, like Bob Beck mentioned today, gives me a bad time about saying the best part was kissing the Swedes at the end of at the finish line. And I thought to myself, it was 20 below the day of the Vasaloppet, the year I was on. I had long underwear under my outfit, and Wally Thorson, who a lot of you will remember, was at the finish line, and he would warm up mittens that I could wear between times of putting on wreaths on it. And I always thought afterwards how if I started to have icicles off my nose and I had to mix it with the icicles on the people that came in, it would have been a mess, but luckily we didn't have to do that. We did a lot of trail clearing out in the cornfields. The wind would be whistling across those cornfields. We'd be cutting down those stalks. But the best part of it, we had a very good group. We had winter picnics. We used to build bonfires out there, and everybody would bring hot dogs. And it was a great camaraderie type thing. And it's been a marvelous experience. And in my life, and I've learned to love the girls, and they're always a very cooperative group, so it's been a good part of my life. And I'm one of the has-beens.
I probably was asked to be Kanskula because I was really enthused about cross-country skiing, and I still love cross-country skiing. In 1985 and 1986, I skied the 32-kilometer ski race, and then I did some volunteer work inside the building. So when they approached me and asked if I'd be Kanskula, I was really not excited about it because I knew that would take care of my skiing, and I really wanted to ski again. In fact, I wanted to do it for 5 years. So I cried a little bit and thought a little bit, and everybody said, oh, you should do it, it'll be great, and I really didn't want to. At the time I was working for Bob and Lois Beck at B&W Printers, and Lois told me, she said, Janny, if you aren't Kanskula, I'm going to fire you. So I decided I'd best get with it and be Kanskula, and I certainly haven't been sorry that I did it. It's been a wonderful experience. I was supposed to be Kanskula in 1987, and that year we didn't have any snow, so there was no race. And that year we had a foreign exchange student at our house from Mora, Sweden, named Malin Hoagland. And she had brought her Swedish costume along, and we were really excited about the race and so terribly disappointed when it didn't get off the ground. But we went through all the festivities beforehand. In fact, we took a trip down to Good Company TV show in the city. I believe there was probably 15, 20 of us that were down on the TV show, and went out for supper afterwards and had just a wonderful, wonderful time. And being there was no race, I think that was the year we had a bonfire, because on Sunday we just didn't want to go home. We didn't want to be sad and be by ourselves. So we had a great big bonfire. So I was then held over till 1988 when I was Kanskula. And I remember up at the start, I mean, you're supposed to be the head Kanskula and do everything proper. And after it was all over and done with, and we got in the van to go back to Mora to the finish line, here I had been wearing my Kanskula cap inside out the whole time. But we've had many duties. We have lots of duties. We make sandwiches before on Friday night for the dance, and fill packets. We've done water stops for half marathon, fundraisers, sell tickets at the fundraiser. Many duties, but it's been great. It really has. All the gals are wonderful, and I love it.
Okay. I guess when Gary Stark called and asked me if I would like to be Kanskula, I thought, oh, Gary, what did I do? You know, I just couldn't figure out what I had done that I would be asked to do this, I considered honorable position. So I went to Janny, who I knew had some frustrations at deciding what to do, and, you know, told her how I felt, and I think she gave me some support and encouraged me to do it. And then when I look back at it, I did tell Gary, I guess I did ski. I did do the Mora Lope at 1 year, and it was a disaster, but I did do it. And then I did volunteer in the building and worked on the bed and breakfast program along with Pat Stark, and I guess that was back in its infancy of bed and breakfast. And one time I remember specifically when I was down here on Saturday, directing people to their homes. In walks these 3 people from Indiana, and they had no place to stay. Well, my house was full, but the living room floor wasn't, and you know, there was still space there. So I took them to my house, and we had skis all over the place, duffel bags and skiers, and it was just absolutely a wonderful, wonderful time. And in the past, I've been volunteering pretty much on a full-time basis from January on through the race. And it's been a great time, and I love my time as Kanskula, and I just am very happy I said yes.
I think one of the very best parts being Kanskula is being at the finish line when the skiers come across. I mean, they are all so appreciative, and they have so many wonderful things to say. I mean, it actually brings tears to your eyes. It's just a great place to be.
One of my great experiences, well, a couple of them that I can't forget, and the flavor of kissing the finishers stays with you for a long time. I mean, especially if they're got this great, nice beard, you know, and the icicles are just hanging there like they've really worked hard. That flavor does stick with you for a while, you know. But one of probably the most embarrassing experience I had when I was at Kanskula, Steve Johnson was president that year, and he was out there on the finish line too, trying to help identify the first lady coming across for her wreath. Well, whose error or misunderstanding it was, but I was ready to give a man the lady's wreath. When he had to wave me off that no, he was not the first lady to come across the finish line. So that was kind of embarrassing, but we made it through it.
I think one thing too that we should mention is the quality of the people that come to Mora. Skiers are a special brand of people, and it's been wonderful for me over these years to watch families. I think of one family particularly, and they were from North Oaks, and the little boy's name was Frank, and I can't tell you the last name, but I think it was a family of 5, and it's been wonderful. I think they've come every year since then, and we expand our families. I think you get to know these people, and that's a very nice part of it.
The same is true of the foreign skiers. We have lifelong friends as a result, but one of the comical things is, I guess, that those first skiers that we housed would come back year after year, and they claimed up and down that our dog recognized them. And they called it home.
One thing all of us Kanskolas have in common is our red tights. We're known for our red tights, and we laugh about them a lot because we have such a hard time finding tights that are comfortable and that fit well. And Mary Braley threatened to burn hers after she was done with her year. In fact, I think she did burn them, but has had to buy several pairs since then. We won't let her retire.
Because once a Kula,
Yes,
always a
always a
Kula.
Kula.
Yeah,
That's
you
what
may be
it
a
is.
has-been, but you're not through with your job.
In fact, no one has touched on the fact that what's going to happen to us when we die. I just don't know if we're going to go to a Kanskula heaven. I haven't figured that one out yet.
I think
Wear a
that's
wreath?
Yeah, right.
And be buried in our red tights.
Yes. Oh, heavens.
But the comments made, like Jenny did allude to too, that the skiers make when they come across the finish line, I mean, they have got so many wonderful comments to say about our race and our town. I mean, it's not just the race, it's the people and our town that they are so grateful to, and they just say, it's the best, we'll be back next year, you know. And even if the weather conditions are such that you can't have a perfect track, which has happened, they say you did the best you could do with the conditions there were. And, you know, those comments just, you know, are really appreciated by all.
And I think too, they do, a lot of the foreign skiers do appreciate that King Vasa Day. We think of it as just a sort of a mundane thing. It's a repetitious thing, but it's that hometown flavor.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about friendships with foreign skiers, Russ and I too have really become to have many, many good friends in Sweden and friends in Denmark too because of the Vasaloppet, and we just really, really appreciate those people.
And not only are we busy during the winter, in the summertime, we have a Vasaloppet float, and Kanskulas and King Vasa ride on the float, and we go to several different towns during the summertime. And
That's enough, is not Gary?
That's great. What else do you want to say? Anything as you look
Are
back from
questions you can think of?
these are your responses and your reactions. I love some of the stories have been great.
One thing the Kanskula always does is at the beginning of the race, along with Bernie Manthe, you set off the the dynamite that starts the race. That's something we do.
Okay.
Well, one year it was kind of scary, wasn't it? Wasn't there a year that the
it
dynamite?
was too close.
Yes, too close. I remember. And I think one of the funny things that I think about is that when we were up at the beginning of the race, this was many years ago, the Kanskulas that were there, we were assembled out in the middle of and these skiers were coming past us, and one of the fellows hollered and said, "I'm off to the daisy sale at Dayton's."
As you look back, 25 years of the Vasaloppet, how far has it come What are your thoughts, your feelings about that?
Well, of course, from my humble beginnings and the race's humble beginnings, it's just evolved into something very, very structured and very, very well done. But I think that I look back at that time, and in Glenn Johnstone, this was his dream, and just I can't imagine how much legwork and planning he did to make this thing work. And I think too, Daisy and Eric Samuelson, and she was the first Kanskula. My husband and I were talking about it. We said too that they were the instigators of making this more fashioned after the real thing, and they were the ones that thought up the Kanskula as an important function.
We used to have meetings too, and speaking about Glenn, and when we'd be at those meetings, you could just see the wheels were just going on Glenn's mind. Now let's see, how can we improve that? What can we add to it? And how can we show our visitors, you know, the joy of skiing and Vasalopa time, and make it a real Glenn is so full of ideas, and I think he's just come up with a fantastic, I don't know how to put it, but anyway, he certainly always something was going on that turned out to be really a nice thing for our race.
Let's put more on the map, that's for sure.
Medaling the skiers, of course, is our job, you know, and years back they had two chutes all the time. The 58 came down one chute and 35 came down the other chute. All of a sudden one year this was changed on us, and I mean change sometimes people can't handle, you know. And that year we seemed to be going a real tizzy over it. Remember, Shanny?
Mm-hmm.
The 35s are coming in the 58 and the 58s are going, we can't do it, we can't do it, we can't. But we have learned to do it. And then they added another race. Oh, how can we do this? But we do that. But they're adding another race this year. So, and I think we'll probably do it.
When are we gonna get her in?
Oh, well, here,
No,
I'll get a shot.
wanted
I'll
some
get a shot of it
wisdom.
right
I
now.
wanted some wisdom.
Oh.
There you go.
No, I really don't want to be part of it. I wanted
We
to.
were
This
talking
is
to
exactly-
you